So introduce yourselves, guys. I'm Sean McAllister. I'm the team leader.
I'm David Hunter.
I'm Sean Richardson.
Oh yeah, use the mic.
I'm Sean Richardson.
Yeah.
You guys should move up.
I'm Lee Hollow. I'm from DePaul.
I'm Chris Lytle, and I'm also from DePaul.
Jared Rathbun from Cal Poly.
Stephen Crane, a.k.a. Reno.
Take a while to turn.
Yep.
I'm David Jowie from Cal Poly.
I'm Jeff Henbis, Cal Poly coach.
I'm Professor Brandon Brown, CIS Department, College of Business, Cal Poly.
Okay,
And yes,
so
I have to say all that, or I get in trouble.
So you saw there's two teams represented up here. There's Cal Poly and then there's DePaul. DePaul was actually speaking at B-Sides yesterday, and we decided to invite them along today since they're CCDC members. Does anyone in the audience participate in the CCDC competition? Anyone? A bunch of people. Awesome. Coaches. Nice. Okay. You got a red team member in front of you there. You can smack him in the back of the head.
Blue teams?
Any blue teams? In there? Coach, advisor, what? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so basically the format, this is supposed to be a panel, so we're just going to go through about a 15 to 20 minute talk, just kind of explain what CCDC is, how we participate in it, how we train for it, and then DePaul's going to kind of fill in any blanks that we left off, and then we'll open up for questions, and I hope we got a bunch because we only got about 20 minutes of content, so. Let's see. All right. Yep. So we're, like we said, Cal Poly Pomona. DePaul's not quite on there, but basically our group is a combination of two different school clubs. SWIFT, which is students with interest in future telecommunications. That's all these fancy black poles we have up here. That's what these are for. And CSS, the Computer Science Society. Let's see. Renan right there. He is the president of CSS this year, and unfortunately our SWIFT president isn't here, but Sean is the vice president this year, and Jared is the treasurer for it. So those two clubs really, we do a lot on campus, and we just we bring in a lot of talent, and that's how everyone on here found out about CCDC was through SWIFT and CSS. I can't even see my screen. Okay. All right, so the basic idea behind the competition, we call it an accelerated business environment. I heard someone say it's like 3 weeks and 3 days, or 3 months, 3 days, depending how you look at it. Basically what happens is you're given us a network, 8 to 10 computers, kind of like a small business basically, or more. And it's pre-set up for you. You don't know what's on these machines. You don't know what the architecture is, what operating systems, things like that. And they're set up basically by a disgruntled IT department. The basic idea is that guy is angry. And he sets things up. He puts Trojans on them. He puts, open firewall rules, misconfigured services, pretty much any IT person's nightmare when you walk in. And the challenge competition is not only to configure those systems correctly, but keep the business up and running while you're being targeted and attacked by the red team. So that guy there and the guy that left. So, and in addition to that, you're given additional what we call injects, business injects. As far as you have to set up this service, you have to do this, you have to add this user, delete this user, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so up there you see pretty much this is kind of bolted point of what I just said. You have to respond to changes in the business plan. This also involves things like policy changes. They'll give you something and say, develop a secure deletion policy, develop develop our network infrastructure. You have to redesign the network's infrastructure, things like that. You have to support users, managers, and customers. Basically, your customer is essentially what we term the white team. The white team says, we need this service up, we need that service up. So you have to keep them happy and complete these tasks they give you for points, essentially. Obviously, the competition's name is defense competition. So the whole idea is if you implement something, if you set up a service, it has, you want it to be secure because you're always being attacked. And the idea is to simulate the real world as closely as possible. And the red team, it's a good opportunity because there's a red team the entire time, the entire weekend. It's usually 2 to 3 days long. The entire weekend, you have a dedicated team that their whole purpose is just to make you cry, essentially.
If I can just say something real quick, Sean.
Go ahead.
In setting up the competition, that's one of the greatest challenges for the host school or the host organization. Days and even months go into setting up the architecture. Sean had mentioned something I want to just quickly correct him. The teams for the Western Regional Competition, they did get architecture, topologies, and roadmaps prior to the competition, but they were left off very vague, and they were subject to change all the way up until the day of the competition.
Yeah, that's
and
what
that, yes, of course, did happen. I was actually also the architect of the Western Regional design, and we had some great sponsorship from Cisco Systems, from Intel, from Microsoft, from VMware, that they donated a lot of their resources and equipment. Unfortunately, they didn't donate any time and personnel to help set up this equipment, so it was kind of a challenge in doing that as well. But we also had a lot of support from alumni as well. And we expect support from other alumni for next year's competition.
All right, so this slide just kind of dictates a little bit more what I talked about as far as what to expect when you walk in. We've got Trojans and everything kind of virus and malware, anything you can think of, anything the black team can think of. Misconfigurations. Also, one thing they do focus on is personally identifiable information stored on like the web servers and things like that, because that is a big deal in industry these days. So you'll have Social Security numbers or credit card numbers stored in plain text on the website somewhere. And if the red team is able to find those basically before you do, you lose points and things like that. Yes, the red team. So right there, this gentleman in the black shirt here, that's Joe Luna. He is the red team captain for Western Regional. And sitting next to him is Cause. Cause was actually the only person at the Western Regional to break into our systems. So screw you, Cause. But they're the reason really the competition is fun for us. It's not. I don't know. I don't consider it fun to set up antivirus and reconfigure services over and over and so on and so forth. I consider it fun to set up systems that they try to break into and laugh when they can't and cry when they can. But so that's the point of the competition, really. So big thank you to those guys and anyone else who does the red team stuff.
As far as how it works, there's three areas that we're scored in. The first of which is injects. So he was talking about the business injects, responding to having to set up a new service, set up users, delete users. And all of those, they have a certain point value that they're not necessarily told to us ahead of time. In addition to, they give us a time limit. So we have to make sure that we get those, get them done correctly. We follow, best practices as far as best as we can in the time frame that we're given, so we can get the full points for each inject. And then also services. So like we have to keep our mail server, DNS server, web server. We have to keep those up. And there's a scoring engine that's doing periodic checks every 3 to 5 minutes or so. That does a check on all the services. We get points for those. If our service is down for a specified amount of time, then we suffer a service level agreement where they actually start taking points away. So instead of not only are we not getting the points that we need for having the service up, but they're also taking points away from us, which has been our team's one of our big things at Nationals is that the service levels they hit us pretty hard on the first day, but we usually get them up in they stay up for the rest of the weekend, and we make back a lot of the points. But that's really the hard part for us is getting those service points that they just take away from us, and it keeps on stacking. So if we're down for an hour, they take away a certain amount of points, and then after the second hour, they take even larger number of points away for that second hour. So it's 20 points for the first hour, 40 points after the second hour. So it's a total of 60 points after 2 hours. and it just keeps on compounding up after that. So you really want to make sure that your services don't go down. And then finally, the hacks. So at the Western Regionals, the red team was actually able to hack some of the other teams enough times that they got more points than some of the blue teams. I actually think, did Rafi alone get more points than some of the teams? Yeah, at the Western Regional, there's one red team member who got enough points to beat out 4 of the other blue teams from taking points away from them. So, they're not officially scored, but they're, someone is keeping track just for laughs, I suppose. So.
Socks are key to victory.
Okay, so now I just want to talk a little bit about how we prepared the team over the last year. One thing that we started out last year was team organization. So Sean McAllister, he was this year's team captain. He was mostly chosen because of his military background, something that we started 2 years ago with Peter Springer. Peter and Sean, they both brought a strict military discipline to the team, which we think was key to making sure that everything, not only during practices went smoothly, that everyone had a clear chain of command, but also that when something needed to be taken care of, they had no problems with being forceful and making sure that it got done. So Sean McAllister was the team captain. On the infrastructure side, taking care of Cisco, DNS, just everything network related. I was this infrastructure lead with David Jowie being backup for me. On the Unix side, so Linux, FreeBSD, Solaris if it's there. We had Anthony Mendez, who could not be here today, as the lead, teamed up with Stephen Crane. On the Windows side, we had Raul Hurtado, who also could not be here today, leading up Windows, Exchange, SharePoint, all that. That was their area of expertise. And he is backed up by Sean Richardson and Jared Rathman. And then finally, we had Jeff Henbess, our coach. He's graduated last year, was on the team for the 2 previous years, currently works at Boeing, and been a great source of information and mentorship for us.
Yeah, and this structure comes from the military. It's basically set up like a squad, and it's split into smaller units because it makes it easy to organize. Rather than me having to go to, Steve or Jared about something specific, I would essentially, the idea would be when I have a task for the Windows team, I would hand it off to the Windows team lead. Windows team lead would then delegate it to his individual peers, and it just makes organizing things, practices, jobs much easier. Than just kind of everyone running around with, like a chicken with their head cut off.
Okay. One thing that isn't specifically up here is documentation, because each of these areas has documentation, but not all of us are necessarily the best. Some other teams, they actually specify a single person that does all the documentation because of they have the business skills, they have the writing skills. In the past, we have had a documentation person. This year, that was mostly David Jowie. His business experience came in real handy, and when we had to write reports. But that was a task shared by everyone this year. So. Training. Basically, we would meet every week. Rain, shine, doesn't matter. Grandma's dead. Well, no. Finals week. Yeah, we even met during finals week. We did not stop practicing. We practiced for 6 hours every Saturday. On top of that, we would distribute homework, projects. Say, hey, you need to have this done by next week, or you need to bring in a VM that's vulnerable. It's got weak passwords, misconfigurations. Bring that in 2 weeks so that everyone else can mess with it. I actually set up a server that I had everyone upload their files to, and then we shared it out with BitTorrent, so people could easily download those and work on them at home. What else we got? I'm sorry? Virtualization. Oh, yeah. The biggest thing is we don't have a lot of hardware. The hardware that we do have available to us is P4s with 512 megabytes of RAM. So virtualization is key for figuring out how to set up these services and secure them.